My best friend Caroline slept with my husband at our family lake house for 14 months. They thought it was their secret. They thought they had been very careful. He took separate trips. She borrowed her sister's car so her own would not be seen in our driveway. They never communicated by text or email. Adam, my husband, used burner messaging on an app I did not know was installed on his phone. They had been, by every measure they themselves had set, smart. They had also, between them, missed one detail: the smart lock I had installed at the front door of the lake house in the summer of 2024. I had installed it because we had been having break-in problems in our rural area. 3 lake houses on our road had been broken into the previous spring. The local police had recommended smart locks for security purposes, the kind that log every entry and exit by fingerprint or code. Adam had set up his fingerprint. I had set up mine. He had also, and I now know this only because of the records, added a third fingerprint to the system a few weeks after I installed it. He had labeled it Handyman Backup. That was Caroline's fingerprint. My name is Rachel. I am 45 years old. 3 months ago, on a Sunday morning in October, I sat at my kitchen table with my coffee, and for the first time in 14 months, I opened the smart lock app I had downloaded the day I installed the lock and never bothered to look at. In the next 9 minutes, I scrolled through 14 months of timestamps. I counted 83 entries by Handyman Backup. 83 times my husband's mistress had walked into my family's lake house. Let me tell you exactly what I did with that list. The lake house was Adam's grandmother's house. She had bought it in 1962 on a small lake in northern Maine, a 4-hour drive from where we live in Massachusetts. It is a small 2-bedroom cottage with a wooden deck that overlooks the water and a stone fireplace Adam's grandfather built himself in 1968. Adam's grandmother left it to him in 2018. We had been married 17 years at that point. We had, between us, restored the cottage carefully. I had sewn new curtains for the windows. Adam had refinished the fireplace. We had replaced the kitchen floor together over a weekend in 2019. The lake house had been our place, just ours. We had not yet had children at that point. The trips to Maine were the kind of weekends I marked on my calendar months in advance. Adam was a partner at a financial planning firm in Boston. The work was demanding. He traveled occasionally, but for the most part, he came home every night. He was, by every measure I had ever applied, a kind, attentive, deeply devoted husband. In the spring of 2024, Adam came home one Wednesday evening and asked me a question that would change everything. He said, "Rachel, I have been thinking. The work has been heavier this year. I am wondering if it would be okay if I started using the lake house some weekends, just me, to decompress, to think. I would not be doing it every weekend, just sometimes. I think it would be good for the marriage, for me to have a quiet space, and for you to have your own time too." I said yes. I want to be honest about why I said yes. I said yes because I had been a wife for 17 years, and I had read enough books and listened to enough podcasts to know that giving your husband his own space, trusting him with autonomy, was supposed to be the mark of a healthy, long marriage. I said yes because Adam had never given me a reason to suspect him. I said yes because I trusted him. Within 6 weeks of that conversation, Adam was taking the lake house every other weekend. Caroline was my best friend. We had met in 2008 at a yoga studio in Cambridge. She had been the kind of friend who showed up. She had been at every birthday I had thrown for the last 16 years. She had sent flowers when my father died in 2015. She had been a bridesmaid at my niece's wedding in 2022. She had been the godmother of my sister's daughter. Caroline was 43. She was an architect. She had been divorced for 4 years. Her ex-husband, Brian, had cheated on her in 2020, and she had told me repeatedly in the months after their split that she would never, ever do that to another woman. She had said it with tears in her eyes. She had said it on a girls' weekend in Vermont in 2021. She had said it at my 40th birthday party in front of 7 of our mutual friends. Caroline had visited the lake house once before, in the summer of 2022, with me and Adam. She had said it was beautiful. She had said the fireplace was the most romantic thing she had ever seen. She had stayed 2 nights with us, and Adam had slept on the couch in the living room while Caroline took the second bedroom, because we did not have enough space for everyone otherwise. That had been the only time, to my knowledge, that Caroline had ever been at the lake house. Until I opened the app. From May of 2024 through October of 2025, Adam took approximately 28 weekend trips to the lake house, by his own description, every other weekend or so. During that 14 months, the marriage, from my position inside it, felt good. Adam came home from the lake house refreshed. He was attentive on the weekdays. He brought me flowers more often than he had in years. He suggested date nights. He held my hand on the couch. He told me multiple times how grateful he was that I had given him the space to find his balance again. I had thought in that period that we were doing better than we had in years. I had even told Caroline as much on a Saturday afternoon in July of 2025 over coffee at our usual cafe in Cambridge. I had said, "Caroline, I think this lake house thing has actually been the best thing for our marriage in a decade. Adam comes back every Sunday so happy and present. I am really glad I said yes." Caroline had smiled at me across the table. She had said, "Oh, sweetie, I am so glad. You and Adam deserve that kind of peace." She had been, that morning, in the very weekend I had been describing as good for our marriage, coming back from a Friday and Saturday at my lake house with my husband. I now know this because of timestamp 53 on the smart lock log. It reads, "Handyman Backup. Entry, Friday, July 11th, 2025, 8:13 p.m. Exit, Sunday, July 13th, 2025, 11:47 a.m. Caroline had lied to my face 4 hours after walking out my front door. I want to tell you what made me open the app, because if I had not, I might still be in that marriage. It was a small thing, a very, very small thing. On a Friday evening in October of 2025, Adam was packing for the lake house. I was in the kitchen making dinner. Adam was upstairs in our bedroom putting clothes into his small leather weekend bag. I went up to the bedroom to ask him a question about dinner. He had his back to me. His phone was face down on the bed. The bag was open. And on top of the folded shirts in his open bag was a small bottle of lavender hand lotion. Caroline's lavender hand lotion. I knew it was Caroline's because I had bought her that exact bottle as a thank you gift for watering my plants when Adam and I were on a trip in 2023. It was a small artisan brand from a town in Vermont. The bottle had a small purple flower on the label. I had given it to her in a small gift bag with a thank you card. She had hugged me and said it was the most thoughtful thing. I stood in the doorway of the bedroom looking at that bottle for what felt like a long time. Adam turned around. He saw me looking at the bag. He said, "Hey, honey, what's up?" I said, I had a question about dinner. Did you want chicken or fish? But I'll figure it out." I went back downstairs. I made dinner. We ate. Adam was charming, attentive. He asked me about my week. He laughed at a story I told him about a coworker. He kissed me on the forehead before he left at 6:30 p.m. for the lake house. He said, "I love you. See you Sunday night." I said, "I love you too. Drive safe." Adam pulled out of the driveway. I sat at my kitchen table for about 45 minutes. Then I went to my phone. I scrolled to the bottom of my third folder of apps. I tapped the Smart Lock app I had downloaded 14 months earlier and never opened. I logged in with my email and the password I had saved in my password manager. The first thing the app showed me was a clean, simple list. Each entry contained a date, a time, an entry or exit notation, and the name of the user. The app had been recording continuously since the day I installed the lock. I scrolled to the top, to the most recent entry. It was that very evening, 8:14 p.m., Friday, October 17th, 2025. The user was Handyman Backup. Caroline was already at the lake house. She had arrived approximately 1 hour and 44 minutes before Adam would by his usual driving time, which meant she had a key, or rather a fingerprint, that allowed her to enter the house without him. I scrolled down. The next entry, handyman, backup, exit, Sunday, October 5th, 2025, 11:22 a.m. The next, handyman, backup, entry, Friday, October 3rd, 2025, 6:78 p.m. I kept scrolling, and scrolling, and scrolling. 14 months, 83 entries, 83 exits. The pattern was consistent. Handyman, backup, entered the lake house every other weekend on Friday evenings between 6 and 8 p.m. Adam's entries and exits came typically 30 to 90 minutes after Caroline's. My best friend had a key to my husband's family's home registered under a fake handyman's name that she had been using for 14 months. That is the end of Block 1. Block 2 begins as I closed the app, sat at my kitchen table, and made one phone call. I made one phone call. I did not call Adam. I did not call Caroline. I did not call my sister or my mother or any of my close friends. I called my divorce attorney, Maria, whose number I had on a card in my wallet. I had been a witness in a difficult divorce of a colleague 3 years earlier, and I had kept her card, the way some women keep a doctor's number, for reasons I had not been able to fully name at the time. Maria answered on the third ring. It was 9:38 p.m. on a Friday. I said, "Maria, this is Rachel Holloway. We met 3 years ago through Patricia Klein's case. I am sorry to call you on a Friday night. I just discovered, an hour ago, through documentary evidence on a smart lock app, that my husband has been having an affair with my best friend at our lake house for 14 months. I have 83 time-stamped entries. I want to file for divorce. I want to do it before he comes home Sunday night." Maria was silent for about 5 seconds. Then she said, "Rachel, I am so sorry. Yes, we can do this. Tonight. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.? Bring your phone, bring screenshots of every timestamp you can capture. Bring any other documentation you have on assets, accounts, property. I will start drafting tonight. We will file Monday morning before your husband comes home from work." I said yes. Maria said, "Rachel, one more thing. Do not contact Adam this weekend. Do not contact Caroline. Do not act differently. Do not ask any questions. Do not give them any indication that you know. Can you do that for 48 hours?" I said yes. And I did. I drove to Maria's office at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. I brought my phone. I brought a folder of all our financial records. I brought a list written by hand on a legal pad of every asset Adam and I owned together: the house in Massachusetts, the lake house in Maine, the joint brokerage account, the joint retirement accounts, the 2 cars, the small wine collection in our basement Adam had built up over 20 years. Maria worked through every document with me for almost 5 hours. She made me take notes about Caroline, about the years of our friendship, about what Caroline had said about loyalty after her own divorce, about the lavender hand lotion. She had me, on her office computer, take screenshots of every single one of the 83 entries. We saved them as a PDF. We backed them up to 2 cloud accounts. She told me to take photographs, very calmly, of the lavender hand lotion if it ever appeared in our house, of any other small object that suggested Caroline's presence, of anything that connected the two of them. I drove home Saturday afternoon. I made dinner for myself. I watched a movie. I went to bed early. Adam called me Saturday night around 10. He asked how my day had been. I told him I had run errands. I told him I missed him. I told him I loved him. He said, "I love you too, Rachel. I am thinking about you." I said, "Good night, sweetheart." I hung up. I have not, since that phone call, used the word sweetheart toward another human being. Adam came home Sunday night at 8:45 p.m. He was, as he always was after the lake house, refreshed and attentive. He kissed me on the forehead. He told me he had made real progress on his thinking. He told me he had a difficult Monday ahead of him at work. I made him a small dinner. I asked him about his weekend. He told me he had taken a long walk on Saturday afternoon. by himself in the woods. He had read by the fireplace Sunday morning. He said, reset. I nodded. I smiled. I asked if he wanted tea before bed. He said yes. I made tea. We watched 20 minutes of a show together on the couch. I went to bed at 10:30. Adam stayed up another hour reading. On Monday morning at 7:15 a.m., Adam left for the office. At 8 a.m., Maria filed the divorce papers. The complaint included, as exhibits, the 83 time-stamped entries from the smart lock log, screenshots of the lavender lotion bottle she had asked me to photograph the previous afternoon, and a 14-page narrative I had written for her on Saturday, detailing every conversation Caroline and I had had since May of 2024, in which Caroline had explicitly denied knowing where Adam was on the relevant weekends. The papers were served to Adam at his office at 11:20 a.m. Adam called me at 11:32 a.m. He had stepped into a small conference room. He was crying. He said, "Rachel, please, I can explain. Please let me come home and explain." I said, "Adam, I have 83 timestamps. I have a photograph of Caroline's lavender lotion in your back. I have a 14-month log of every weekend you told me I was alone. I do not need you to explain. I need you to find a hotel for tonight. The locks at our house are being changed at noon. The locks at the lake house are also being changed. Caroline's fingerprint has been removed from the system, by the way. Maria did it remotely from her office at 8:15 this morning. Goodbye, Adam." I hung up. I called Caroline at noon. This was the only call I had not handed over to Maria. I had asked Maria on Saturday afternoon if I could be the one to make this call. Maria had said, "Rachel, I would normally tell you no, but this is your friend. I think you have earned this one. Just do not say something actionable. Do not threaten her. Do not engage if she defends herself. Stick to the facts." Caroline picked up on the second ring. She said, "Hey, sweetheart, everything okay? You don't usually call me at lunch." I said, "Caroline, I need you to listen, because I'm only going to say this once. I have a smart lock at the lake house. I have for 14 months. The app on my phone has logged every entry and exit since I installed it. I know your fingerprint is in the system, registered under the false name Adam created. I have 83 entries timestamped. I have already filed for divorce. The papers were served to Adam this morning. I am calling you to tell you that I know. I am calling you to tell you that the friendship of 17 years is over. I am calling you to tell you that you should not contact me again, ever." Caroline was silent for a long time. Then she started to cry. She said, Rachel, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I never meant it to—" I said, "Caroline, the lavender hand lotion was in his bag on Friday night. The lavender one I gave you in 2023. I want to tell you something. You spent 20 minutes at my 40th birthday party telling our friends with tears in your eyes that you would never do to another woman what Brian did to you. I believed you. I am very, very disappointed in you. Goodbye." I hung up. The divorce was finalized in 5 months. Adam, faced with 83 time-stamped entries and a complete documentary record, did not contest a single term. I kept our house in Massachusetts. I kept the lake house in Maine, with a new smart lock set up under my name only, with no shared access. I kept 75% of the joint assets, given the documented infidelity. Adam kept his retirement account, his car, his clothes, and the wine collection, which I had no use for. Adam tried 3 times in the first 6 months to reach out to me through mutual friends. I did not respond. Caroline never tried to reach out at all. I think this was, in some ways, the most telling thing about her. A woman with a real conscience would have at least attempted to apologize once. Caroline understood, I think, that the version of her she had now seen me was the one she had spent 17 years successfully hiding from me. There was nothing left for her to defend. I went up to the lake house alone the weekend after the divorce was finalized. I sat on the deck with a cup of tea.
I watched the sunset. I thought about Adam's grandfather, who had built the fireplace in 1968. I thought about Adam's grandmother, who had welcomed me into the family in 2007, and who had once told me that the lake house was the place where the truth catches up with everyone eventually. She had said it as a joke at the time, about a relative who confessed something at Thanksgiving in 1994. It had not felt like a joke that evening. I keep the Smart Lock app on my phone. I open it sometimes just to see the new entries. They are all me now, every weekend. There is a peace in seeing my own name, 83 times in a row, with nothing else in between. If you have ever had that gut feeling that something was wrong and been told you were imagining it, if you have ever wished just once that the truth came with a timestamp, if you have ever been the wife who installed something for safety and discovered it had a different purpose all along, leave one word in the comments below. The word is logged, for every woman whose own house turned out to know more than she did. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story. We share one every week about quiet women who knew exactly what they were doing the entire time everyone underestimated them. Until then, open the app. It might already know what you need to.